Let me thank both of you again, and anticipating a question that may be answered. As I pointed out, the Magnitsky law allows Congress to initiate reviews of individuals who should be sanctioned. This information will be very helpful to us in looking at the role that we can play. Obviously, the administration could take its own initiatives, and we work very closely with the administration. We have used that process in the past, that is congressional initiated review, and we will very much use the information that's been provided here today for appropriate action under the Magnitsky law. Once again, as was pointed out by our two guests, it should be universal, and we hope that we will be able to make it universal. We have time for a couple questions. If there are questions, if not.
Senator Carson, how are sanctions frankly working? And there are some who think the president hasn't been tough enough to make these sanctions work. One of your colleagues said that they could disrupt the Russian economy. But do we have any hope that they will?
Well, there are two sets of sanctions we were talking about here. The first set of sanctions came under the Magnitsky law, dealt with circumstances within Russia. That list was put out by the administration. It's in a process of being supplemented. We think it does work. We see Russia's reaction to it, which has been pretty strong, which indicates that the Russian elite, which are very close to Mr. Putin, are very much impacted by what we're doing. We do believe that a large part of the reason why there is corruption in Russia is that they use the corrupt resources to buy assets in America. They use it to travel to America, and by denying that, we make it clear that we will not be a participant in these illegal gains. The sanctions that have been imposed as a result of Russia's incursion into Ukraine are for a different purpose. They're not only to deal with the Russian elite, but also to deal with the Russian economy. And the fact that is not only implied here in the United States, but also in Europe, is having a major impact on Russia today. There is a price that's being paid. The administration's made it clear that they intend to ratchet up those sanctions if Russia does not change its behavior or moves in the wrong direction. Yes, I think there is interest in Congress to support stronger sanctions in order to make it clear to Russia that we will never acknowledge or accept their illegal taking of territory and what they're doing in Ukraine today. Yes?
Is the United States constrained at all by the fact that we rely on Russia to a certain extent when it comes to diplomacy with Iran and limiting their nuclear program, and also we want their help in Syria?
Well, we believe we can have a bilateral relation with Russia that's more complicated than just one issue. We think what they've done in Ukraine is not only wrong, it is dangerously wrong, and could be used as precedent in other parts of the world for where there's territorial dispute, one country using their military in order to take over territory. That needs to be spoken to, and the United States, along with Europe, has made it very clear that this illegal conduct will never be acknowledged. That's part of a mature relationship with another country, is our ability to be able to stand strong on those principles. As I pointed out, under the Helsinki process, under the OSCE, we have a responsibility to point out these issues. And so what we're doing is consistent with the commitments made by Russia and the United States as signatory to the Helsinki Final Act. We can deal with Russia as it relates to Syria, as it relates to Iran. It's in their interest to see a non-nuclear Iran. It's in their interest to have stability in Syria. So we think we're pursuing a mutual interest in these countries, and that Russia will understand that and will continue to want to move forward to make progress in those areas.
The band members think the U.S. is doing enough in Ukraine right now?
Я думаю, это вопрос не к нам, а к жителям Украины.
I think this question should be asked first of all to the citizens of Ukraine.
That's it.
Мы не имеем права выражать в данном случае наше мнение, потому что ситуация действительно очень напряженная, и только сами жители Украины могут решать.
It's very hard to give our own opinion because the situation is so heated and tense right now that only the people that live in those areas, the citizens of Ukraine, can actually give an adequate account of what is happening and what do they need.
Совершенно очевидно, что
25 мая будут выборы, и эти выборы должны пройти в мире, а не под выстрел оружия.
It is very clear, though, that the May 25th elections should definitely proceed in peace and not surrounded by weapons and fire shots.
To the band members, do you think the sanctions are having an effect on Putin or his inner circle?
По крайней мере, это позволяет огромному количеству говорить о тех нарушениях прав человека, о которых мы упомянули только что.
At least the sanctions allow a huge number of people to talk about those human rights violations. Well, this is the most evident result.
И поэтому мы хотели бы, чтобы все сегодня сказали об этом.
So this is why we'd like everyone to talk about the Bologna case today.
Can I just point out one thing? When we were considering the Magnitsky law, I heard from so many Russians who said, thank you for speaking up for our country. We know that the sanctions have an impact. It has a limited impact. It has an impact. And it's certainly a matter of major concern within Russia. But one of the main benefits is it shows a group of people who expect more from their country and are willing to stand up for more than their country, that we are listening to their concerns. So I think it does have a major impact on the political climate within Russia, which clearly affects Mr. Putin and the calculations that Mr. Putin is making. One last question, yes.
Ничего хорошего. Ничего хорошего ответить.
Well, nothing very good.
Я могу пожелать вам написать песню, пусть Riot с некоторым количеством матов и выложить ее в YouTube.
My wish is that someone could create a Pussy Riot song with a lot of obscenities and publish it on the internet and see what happens as a response to that.
Should the United States do more aside from sanctioning more?
Нужно в любом случае помогать российским НКО, потому что они сейчас находятся в очень плачевном состоянии. И нужно говорить о политических заключенных.
It's very important to collaborate with Russian NGOs and Russian civil rights group and talk about political prisoners. We think that this verbal approach is the most effective way right now.
Я думаю, что силу мата могут показать только художники, те люди, которым пользуются. Мне кажется, что сенаторы и конгрессмены не те люди, которые часто используют эти слова.
And
I think that against this law, individuals should do sanctions, not congressmen, because they don't use this obscenity word very
response to the upside question.
Thank you all very much.